This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome, everybody, to the WWE Podcast. It is, Wednesday morning, July 9th, 2025, as we are a little bit late here on the Raw review, but I'm on vacation, as previously mentioned, so, doing the best I can here on my last few days of vacation in this undisclosed location. So I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying cool, having fun, enjoying their work week here as we talk about Monday Night Raw, and we have a huge weekend coming up with the Evolution, PLE, and Saturday Night Main Event on Saturday. Friday, I will try, although Friday may or may not be a travel day for me, but I will try to upload a mailbag / some kind of preview and prediction show for both of these events that are coming up this weekend. WWE doubling up on a big wrestling weekend here in the next couple of days. So let's jump into the Raw review. Let's talk about what the heck happened. What the heck happened here as Sami Zayn gets destroyed. All of Seth's members of his group, including himself, were victorious on Monday night, which I think was a really good thing. I had said for weeks after this group had been initially formed that Seth's group needs momentum, that he needs to produce, WWE needs to produce this group looking strong, that they need some kind of just push behind them to make it look like they're dominant, and they are, and it finally happened. I mean, the last couple of weeks they have stood tall, and this past week all three members were victorious in their singles matches. Doesn't need to happen every week, but that was a great thing this past week, and giving them each identities and not just having both Bronson and Braun be just beholden to only Seth's wishes, that they have their own identities, because remember, the purpose of this group is to create new stars and to help build existing ones, and both Braun and Bronson Reed are existing stars that already were hot and now get the real shine of being aligned with Seth and Paul Heyman, of course. So having both of them have their own identities and being able to focus on them is really the key here, because it's not really about Seth. Yes, he has his Money in the Bank briefcase. Yes, he will cash in. Yes, he likely will win the World Heavyweight Championship when he does cash in. But we got to remember, the original purpose of creating this group is to build new stars. Seth is already a star, already a Hall of Famer. It's to help build both Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. So let's jump into it here, as we once again do not have Pat McAfee, who has been out, and apparently he is not going to be back for some time. He has broken a silence that he was burned out. He needs time away. And I have no issue with that. Obviously, we all can relate to burnout. He needs time to just breathe and step back and enjoy his life. And I totally understand and support that. So it does seem, though, that Pat McAfee is not going to be back for some time, and hopefully that, when he does come back, his batteries are recharged, and wishing him the best. But we have Corey Graves on commentary with Michael Cole, and I like Corey Graves, and he's here on Monday night. And we have Rollins come out, and Breaker took the microphone from Paul Heyman, not Rollins. And Breaker said he was with Rollins and Heyman because they have a vision of him being the face of WWE for 2 decades. Breaker said he has his own version of WWE without Sami Zayn, and he doesn't like Zayn's face, his beard, or his music. And he said that Zayn has an expiration date, and he'd put a stamp on it tonight. He promised Zayn that he would maul his head off, and added that Zayn would be looking up at the lights. Rollins laughed at that, and he said that he noticed Bronson Reed was looking at the mic. Reed took the mic and said Breaker was a tough act to follow, but so is he. He said he hit Rollins with 6 tsunamis. which built respect between the two of them, which is exactly right. I'm so glad that they aren't ignoring that. Not that they really have, but it's something important to note that Bronson Reed did destroy Seth Rollins several months ago, and suddenly they're together, and it's logical that Rollins actually would develop a respect for a guy that totally destroyed him, to make sure that we understand why he's now aligned with them. So that's important here, and I like that. He said that he'll get the respect he deserves through his alliance with Rollins, and he said Jey Uso doesn't respect him, so he's going to beat respect into him. And then he got the mic back. Rollins did. And Heyman said, tonight the Empire strikes back. And he said the Empire strikes first, rather. And Heyman hyped Reed versus Jey and said Roman Reigns doesn't have the balls to come back and step up against them. And also set up Breakker and Zayn and Rollins and Penta. And he said he's not young or boozy enough to understand Penta's hand symbols. And Heyman said Penta would be in no shape to do those hand signals ever again. And that this wasn't a prediction, it was a spoiler. Okay, so the fact that Heyman here, for me, the biggest thing, yes, was putting over the group, putting over the individual matches that were happening that night with Jey and Bronson and Breakker and Sami and Rollins and Penta. But the more important thing for me here, the one I took away from, was Roman Reigns being mentioned cold. I mean, he hasn't been involved in the story in the last couple of months since WrestleMania. And he is being mentioned cold by Paul Heyman, which is obviously a sign, and a great sign, that Roman Reigns is on his way back to help fend off this new group. That is the right call here. Roman Reigns has, over the last several years, I don't know why, this should be no surprise to anybody, that Roman Reigns has had this type of schedule for the last 5 years, essentially. I mean, especially the last 3 or 4, he has really been on this WrestleMania, win, lose, or draw, takes a few months off, comes back in time for SummerSlam, works SummerSlam, might work the next PLE, goes away until, the Survivor Series. Like, that's been Roman Reigns' schedule. We've all gotten used to it. We resented WWE and Roman Reigns for doing that while he was champion. A lot of the reason he gained so many days and tallied up so many days as champion is because he wasn't there for half of them. But regardless, as the fact that he's not here now without a belt has really allowed the crowd to endear themselves back to Roman Reigns. And we should be not really shocked when he goes from WrestleMania to SummerSlam anymore. That's been Roman Reigns' schedule for quite some time. So that's a good sign as we go into SummerSlam season in just a week or two, full bore, really in a week after this Saturday Night Main Event and the Evolution PLE. We are full blast into SummerSlam season, and Roman Reigns should be shortly thereafter returning. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's nice to see a big star from WrestleMania return again, and Roman Reigns is going to be right into the fold, right into the Seth Rollins and chasing Paul Heyman. I have to say, I don't really want Roman Reigns to spear Paul Heyman. It'd be fine, I guess, but I don't need Paul Heyman taking bumps. I actually don't want him to take bumps. He just is not built for it. I don't want his health being put at risk. I understand he's probably willing to do it, but I don't need Paul Heyman. I don't need that being the payoff for Roman Reigns' story to return. Being him chasing Paul Heyman, trying to spear Paul Heyman, he's cut off. He tries to set up for a spear, he's cut off. Paul Heyman can't have a match. He's not there to have a match. He's there to be a mouthpiece for whoever he's working with and essentially put asses in seats and sell tickets and want you to watch the show to see what happens. That's Paul Heyman's job, and he's done it better than anybody for the last 20 years. But Roman Reigns and having him spear Paul Heyman, if they want to do that, just get it out of the way. But the real money, to me, is with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. That's the story I want to see play out one-on-one. No third party. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. I know CM Punk is there. He has to get his pound of flesh on Paul Heyman too. Fine. But to me, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins having a proper program, one-on-one with no third party, is where the money is at. We'll see if that actually happens. All right. So we then have let's see, Judgment Day Clubhouse, Raquel Rodriguez was bothered by a memorial photo of Liv Morgan surrounded by candles. And Finn Balor spoke about how long it took to come back from shoulder surgery. Roxanne referred to Raquel as partner, but Raquel told her it was too soon. And we then have Roxanne Perez and Kairi Sane. Perez entrance was televised. Sane went up to the top a few minutes into the match. This finish was in 11 minutes and 30 seconds. The finish itself was Sane going up for her insane elbow, but Rodriguez pulling Perez out of the ring. Sane dove from the top rope onto Rodriguez onto the floor, and then Perez got Sane back in the ring and set up for her finish, but she avoided it and got a backslide for the victory. After the match, the heels attacked Kairi. Asuka comes out to help her partner and cleared Rodriguez from the ring, and Asuka held Perez while Sane hit her with an insane elbow. And we've got the Kabuki Warriors back on track, which is the best thing for Kairi Sane that could possibly happen. Because I've been hammering her just AI-generated wrestling gimmick of a pirate. Again, it's just horrible. I mean, because it doesn't mean anything. No one understands what it means. And we've never been told what it means. So as good as Kairi is in the ring, and I think she's excellent, there's no gimmick there that really relates to anybody or makes sense. And so having her with Asuka, there's something there. And I think that is a really good thing. Back in a tag team with Asuka, hopefully, as we roll down the line. And also, I have to say, Asuka's strikes, I forget how good she is at striking. I mean, the strike she gave Raquel Rodriguez when she came in, I mean, I can't see through her work. She looks like she is just, she's actually, kicking and punching Raquel in the face. And it's, as watching wrestling as long as I have or any of you have, when you can watch a worker and you still question, like, wow, did that actually make contact? That's impressive. Because there's a lot of punches and kicks that we can see through very easily, and it's almost eye-rolling at times. Asuka is just excellent at the striking. She's so quick, but precise. Very impressive. Very impressive. So I wanted to give credit where it's due and remember just how good she is at striking. And wrestling just generally. Her personality may be a bit off the wall. She's a bit too wacky, zany cartoon for me. But her in-ring is just, she's top tier. So her and Asuka and Kairi together is the right formula here. It also creates a tag team championship match clearly down the line for the Kabuki Warriors versus Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, in which, I mean, I hate to say it, but honestly, who cares who wins that? And I say who cares because WWE, as long as these tag team championships have been in existence, for the most part, have totally disrespected those championships consistently. There's never been any consistent respect or focus on those titles, and until that happens, I have no reason to believe that, or any reason to actually care about who is holding those belts. It's been a curse more than a blessing for most of the champions who have been in possession of them. So we then get a Nikki Bella promo video. Again, I know there's stuff backstage here with Sami being interviewed by Jackie Redmond. He had ribs wrapped. He said he didn't care about the things that Braun said about him. Kind of nothing really to behold here. I'm not going through, if you're new to the show, I don't go through every little detail of the show. There's just too much. But trying to get on as much as I can that's worth talking about. But Nikki Bella had a promo video. She announced that she'll be in the Evolution Battle Royal for a title shot at Clash in Paris. Boy, hey Nikki, bit of a fall from grace, no? You go from having a championship match, presumably, with Liv Morgan, to being relegated to a battle royal. Talk about a fall from grace. I'm sure that's what she came back to do, is be in the battle royal. I mean, I personally love it because everything about Nikki Bella for me is just the worst. From in-ring to her personality, to her promos, to her actual personality, her real life personality that presumably she's showing on her podcast, which is insanely uninteresting. But that's how I feel about Nikki. It's great to me because she is as I said in my last show, she is high on her own supply. No one else is joining her in that endeavor. Nobody. I don't know. So she's creating this this imaginary organic movement that people wanted to see her back, and I love the fact that she's in this battle royal. it's just great. And she recently, by the way, the Bellas had a recent interview with Alexa Bliss, and Alexa Bliss talked about her reaction at the Rumble and how she's worried that the fans won't remember. What kind of reaction am I going to get? And she was so happy with the reaction she got at the Rumble, which was awesome, and it was totally deserving, because Alexa has just a connection with the fans that you can't describe, despite the fact that WWE never seems to really ever make her the focal point. She's like a high mid-tier talent that occasionally just scratches the surface of top talent, and then they put her back into the upper mid-card. That's what they've done with Alexa her entire career. But they did an interview with her, and she's saying how the reaction was just awesome and how she was just taking it all in. And and Nikki and Brie are sitting there talking, in split screen with her. And all I'm thinking to myself is, boy, I bet you will probably wonder what that feels like, huh, Nikki? Like they've never had that kind of reaction. So, not something that the Bellas can relate to, of course. Okay, so Sami Zayn comes out. We get the match here with Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. Sami did tell Adam Pearce while both were in the ring he would be able to wrestle his match, and the trainer did clear Zayn, so Pearce allowed it. And Breaker made his entrance because Breaker attacked Sami with a lead pipe again. And Adam Pearce chucked the lead pipe, and there was a bit of a scuffle on the entranceway. So we did get a match here with Sami and his taped ribs after the attack. So Sami's ribs are already a target. And the match was only 5 minutes with Breaker beating Sami. And it was just spear after spear, a spear in midair, a spear on the outside of the ring, a spear in the middle of the ring, just spear fest and lead pipes to the ribs. So, Cole was very sympathetic. I think Michael Cole did a nice job of trying to give us some sympathy for Sami, and that absolutely came through. And Sami is an endearing character. Despite the fact of his outside of the ring perspectives on current events that a lot of people really don't like, including myself. As a wrestling character only, he is very sympathetic. He does have a very common man look. He doesn't have the typical wrestler body. He does have very good promos. His in-ring is just, it's excellent. And so all of that put together, and he's been here a while. He's got the respect of fans. He's got everything you need for that organic love for a wrestler, and he's got it. And then you put the never say die attitude behind it, the manufactured injury with his ribs to garner sympathy, and his will to win. All of that. He's exactly what you're looking for to create a babyface. And it looks like they wrote him off TV for a little bit here. Because Sami Zayn, after all those spears, after the lead pipe, it seems like they're putting Sami on the shelf, at least for a little while. Probably a couple of weeks. The taped ribs are going to continue to be an issue whenever he does come back and attack Braun Breaker, which seems to be his target when he comes back. I would imagine it is. I don't know how any other scenario plays out. But Sami Zayn here attacking Braun Breaker will be the scenario when he does come back. If Sami Zayn is back next week, I don't know what the hell's going on here, because that would make no sense. You can't have that many finishes, lead pipes to the ribs, and you have Sami Zayn back next week. So, by the way, the card for Saturday Night Main Event, we have Gunther and Goldberg. We'll get to that. We have Knight and Rollins. And we have Randy Orton and McIntyre, Dominic and AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. So, we'll talk about that card as we get closer to the end of the week here in predictions. So, let's continue with the rest of Raw. We have Becky Lynch show up and offer her condolences to the New Day. We have Lynch tell Kingston and Woods that it wasn't a horrible idea to get rid of Big E. We have then Becky Lynch come out. She questioned how Lyra and Bayley managed to get a triple threat match against her when they lost to each other. And she said she would have been allowed to choose her own challenger just as women's world champions did. And Lynch accused Lyra Valkyria and Bayley of being in cahoots. And then both Lyra and Bayley come out. They ended up arguing while each person claimed they would be champion if it wasn't for the other. And Valkyria said people assume she called Lynch to replace Bayley at WrestleMania, but Lynch actually called her. And Lyra said she had to rescue the title from two massive disappointments. Bayley said she sat in the front row when Valkyria won the title for the first time and recalled watching Valkyria lose the title to Lynch when you raised her hand like a little blank. Valkyria and Bayley fought, and then Valkyria cleared Bayley from the ring and put Lynch down with the Nightwing, and Bayley then returned and also got a Nightwing, and Lyra stood tall. That's a good thing. The crowd didn't seem to be super behind Lyra here, but it gave Lyra an edge. It gave Lyra a little bit of momentum going into the match here. I don't think she has any chance of winning the match for the Intercontinental title for the women. I don't believe she will, but it still is a good moment for Lyra to put down two legends in women's wrestling like Bayley and Becky. So Lyra getting her own momentum here, standing tall, even though she's the smallest woman in the group here. And I saw the platform heels she's wearing. How tall is Lyra Valkyria? I mean, she's wearing those platform shoes, so she gains a few inches. So, I mean, is she like Alexa Bliss tall? 5 feet of fury? She probably is. But I just noticed that on Raw. I'm like, even with the platform shoes, she seems small. But it was good for her to stand tall. I'm really growing fond of Lyra's main roster work. Yes, she had a really fun Intercontinental title run. She was the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion. Her working with Becky has been good for her and Becky. Gives Becky a fresh set of opponents. Bayley getting back into the mix here of actually being relevant in some kind of championship opportunity is good for Bayley. This is a win-win-win for all three women. And the triple threat should be excellent because you have three top performers, two main eventers, one that's on the way, and it's for a championship that the women are trying to establish with some kind of value, that they're just getting going. All right. We then have Jey Uso and Bronson Reed. Jey Uso loses to Bronson Reed by DQ in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. The finish was, let's see here. Reed Jey hit a suicide dive that sent Reed tumbling over the broadcast table. Jey cleared the table, returned to the ring for a moment to break the count, and then Reed headbutted Jey. Reed hoisted him up, but Jey slipped away and super kicked Reed, who sat down in the broadcast chair, and then Jey super kicked Reed again and set up for another suicide dive, but Reed threw the chair at Jey for the DQ. Of course, after the match, you know what's going to happen here. Tsunami splashes. Adam Pearce, everybody comes out to talk Reed down. I have no issue with the DQ. And while, yeah, sure, technically Jey won the match, this is a victory for Reed. This is not a victory for Jey Uso. On paper, sure, but no one counts the paper victories. It's who stood tall at the end of the day, and this is Reed. So sure, technically not all Obsessed members got victories, but they were victorious in the court of public opinion, I would say. And I also love, I love the tsunami, but more importantly, I love more that Reed did not start to do tsunami after tsunami after tsunami, and then also give in to the cheers of one more time, which seems to be something that the heels have a bad habit of doing. And, we'd had Reed just do two, and he's like, no, I'm done. I'm not going to give you guys what you want. That's being a heel. Loved it. So, okay. El Grande Americano versus Dragon Lee. El Grande beats Dragon Lee in 9 minutes and 20 seconds. We had Americano run up the ropes, hit a blockbuster on the way down. We had Dragon Lee catch Americano in the ropes, hit him with a double stomp from the top rope. Lee followed up with a flip back dive, and then back in the ring, Americano put the metal piece in his mask and headbutt him before getting the victory. We all know who this is, Ludwig Kaiser. We don't care. No one cares. It's just anyone could be Americano at this point. He's no singular man. He's a concept. El Grande Americano is not an actual person, a singular person. He's just a concept. And anybody can kind of rotate in and out of this concept. And it becomes kind of a fun game. They could really do something with this. I know that we all know Chad Gable is the original. Now Ludwig Kaiser. Once Ludwig Kaiser comes out of the mask and does his own thing, presumably at some point, we could then have somebody else rotate in. And you're like, now who's this? It becomes a game of who is Americano, you know? So I think that could be a fun little thing for a while and see how long they can play with that game. So then we have Gunther come out, and he said he's verbally abused Goldberg over the last 2 weeks, and yet Goldberg hasn't done anything about it. And he assumed Goldberg was afraid of him, the pressure got to him, and then we get the car engine interrupting Gunther, and Goldberg was in some kind of muscle car, I don't remember which one. Of course, it's perfectly timed for Goldberg to be just pulling into the arena with the camera knowingly being there for Goldberg to make his entrance and come out and perfectly time interrupt Gunther. I mean, it's pro wrestling, right? But it's sometimes you think about these things, you're like, yeah, the amount of things that would have to line up perfectly for that moment to happen organically is just infinitesimally small. But I'm not trying to ruin wrestling. I'm really not. But sometimes you think of those things. However, it was a fine segment here because Goldberg gets in the ring. Yes, I know that there were apparently pumped in Goldberg chants, which I do believe, but Goldberg came in and the mic picked up that saying from Goldberg, "We could fight right now." And holy S chants broke out. And then Goldberg raised the mic to speak, but Gunther raised the mic to speak, but Goldberg slapped it away. And he pointed to his chin to tell Gunther to take a shot. Gunther threw a punch. Goldberg blocked it and dropped Gunther with not a really bad punch. I mean, it was just not good. And Goldberg set up for a spear, but Gunther exited. And yeah, I mean, it was a manufactured Goldberg chant. I don't even know. I mean, I think the Holy S chants were legit because I was watching people's mouths in the audience to see if they were actually saying it, and they were. But that was, yeah, I mean, it was a fine reaction. Even if they did magnify it a bit, it was as good as they could have expected for Goldberg, given, you know, that this is his final match, and it was fine. It was just, you know, Goldberg couldn't expect anything better than that. And yeah, I mean, one thing I will say too, not really in criticism of Goldberg and Gunther, but rather just the spear in general. The spear is no longer special. And I know Goldberg has been gone for a while and we shouldn't just reserve it for Goldberg, but I think the spear finish has been utilized too much. I mean, just think of the guys that use the spear as a finish. Braun Breaker. We have Roman Reigns. We have Jey Uso. I know the Uso splash, but the spear has been used before and it is a setup move for his finish. Now we have Goldberg using the spear. I feel like I'm missing somebody with the spear. There's too many spears. All right. I know Edge no longer there, but he used it. So the spear has been utilized a little bit too much and it's no longer special to see it. But I mean, I don't know if anyone really cares about that observation, but it's just an observation. Okay. Seth Rollins and Penta. This match went 12 minutes and 40 seconds with Seth Rollins beating Penta in a really good match here. I mean, I know Penta has been kind of fading away lately in terms of momentum. You know, he came in hot, seemed like they were just going to give him a 6-month run as an undefeated star, and he started to lose match after match after match, and he's been on a losing streak for a while. But losing to Seth Rollins in the main event of Monday Night Raw there's no shame there. Having Penta put on a performance here was what you were looking for. Can he keep up with Seth? How does he look? Is the crowd behind him? And the answer to all of that is solidly yes. And Seth Rollins beating Penta made sense. You want Seth Rollins and his group to look strong here. You want Seth Rollins and his group to actually feel like they have some kind of, like, they're dangerous. And they are. And they need to be perceived as such. So Rollins beats Penta. Here's the finish, though. He set up for the Penta driver. Rollins headbutted him below the belt. He told the ref it was accidental and then laughed while looking at Heyman. After the referee turned around, Rollins hit the stomp, got the victory. No kickouts of finishes. That's good. That's a key. It shouldn't be the bar these days, but to me, that's a good observation, or at least a positive here in terms of, I think, moving wrestling back to a little bit more of a believable and fun contest, manufactured contest. And that is bringing back the idea that finishers should not be kicked out of every single match. And it's gotten absurd. So it's a good thing here. However, LA Knight entered the ring after Rollins had Paul Heyman use his iPhone like a walkie-talkie, which I guess you can do, but I've made that criticism before that, I mean, I guess there's so many apps and so many ways to use your iPhone that it's perceivable that you could use your iPhone the way that Paul Heyman does at a moment's notice. You know, again, he's using it like it's a child's walkie-talkie, but he had his goons come out. He had Rollins, he had Breaker, and he had Bronson Reed come out. And that's when LA Knight shows up. He puts Rollins down with a BFT, and then Knight fled before Breaker and Reed could get to him. And then fans were chanting for Knight as the show concluded. Having LA Knight on Raw feels just right. I have to say, I know that he's been a staple of SmackDown. There's no real brand split here, but LA Knight could really benefit from being a regular part of Monday Night Raw. A change of scenery for LA Knight on a consistent basis would be something I think that would benefit him in the long term. It feels like LA Knight has been done everything he can do on SmackDown. I don't want to see him chasing the U.S. title anymore. I don't need it. I mean, it's fine that he's in a championship picture. It's better for him to do that than nothing, yes. But LA Knight has been slowly, kind of sneakily, bad word, but he's been under the radar, or as the kids would say, low key, been kind of moving towards a more consistent main event appearance. Now, what does this result in? I don't know. Is he just there as a foil for the heel to work with while Seth is eventually going to capture the world title? Is he there kind of in the interim, or do they have longer term plans for LA Knight? I don't know the answer, but it's good to see Knight working with top talent in and on Monday Night Raw. So I don't know where this is leading, but it's great to see. If you're an LA Knight fan, you were concerned like, okay, man, well, they're going to relegate him back to the U.S. title and have a kind of a lifelong pursuit of that U.S. title, which feels like he's been in since the initial push that really the fans gave him and WWE had to respond. But I'm done with it. I don't need to see LA Knight. I don't even want him to, if I had a choice, of course, TV or nothing, I'd put him on TV, but LA Knight should be out of the U.S. title picture. It's been overdone. No one is really going to get behind him in the U.S. title picture because we've seen him achieve it, and he's been in that circle of trying to attain it for so long, even after he lost it. People are tired of it. They want to see him do something different. And if it's just working with Seth Rollins for now, I think a lot of fans would accept that because Seth Rollins is one of the biggest, if not the biggest act on Monday Night Raw right now, maybe outside of Gunther, who's the world champion. So, I think good show here. And one thing I want to mention that was not and currently not on my review that I'm reading right now is Karrion Kross, who attacked Seth Rollins with the pipe. I said it was Braun Breaker, but it was actually Karrion Kross. I apologize for that mistake. It was Karrion Kross who hit Braun Breaker with the lead pipe. So I misspoke. But Karrion Kross, his push lately is encouraging, or his appearances lately are encouraging, because Karrion Kross is not trying to gimmick his way into the main event. And that's not actually how fans want people to be in the main event. Usually gimmicks don't get you into the main event. It's just organic support from the crowd that decides, you know what, you're our guy now. You've shown us something, you're our guy. And it's interesting that with all the different gimmicks Karrion Kross has had, and all the different iterations, and the bad mask, and him leaving and getting fired and coming back, and starting the Final Testament, and then Paul Ellering, and that goes away, and all the different iterations, right? The one that has resonated the most with fans, interestingly enough, is the one that has the least amount of gimmick attached to it, the most amount of just authenticity attached to it, just being a dude, talking. There's no gimmick, there's no special effects, it's just Karrion Kross. And the interview that was done, I think it was with Jackie Redmond, I could be wrong, he was in the crowd and people were just chanting for "We want Kross. We want Kross," in the middle of his interview. Very loud. And there's something going on with Karrion Kross that I hope continues. It's not, I don't think they're going to strap the rocket ship to Karrion Kross and have him be bolstered to the main event. I think they're taking the slow burn approach, and they're seeing if fans continue to support him. And I would do the same thing if I were WWE. I wouldn't just react to every little thing that they do, every little chant that's done on a week-to-week basis, every hashtag. It doesn't always require a pivot on WWE's part. They need to pick and choose to see what's real from the fans and what's not. Is there staying power? And if there is, it may be something to look into. Is it growing? Is there a movement going on underneath the surface that's translating not just from online, not just from hashtags, but to actual in-person reaction, on-camera sound? Is there something there? And right now, I think for Karrion Kross, the answer is yes. So I would still proceed with caution if I were the company, because you want to make sure what's going on is real. And I think right now it is. But you still proceed with baby steps. You put him on TV consistently. You don't put him in world title pictures. You don't even have to put him in a championship picture. You just put him on TV and see how the crowd continues to react. What are they doing? How are they chanting for him when there's no prompt to chant for him? Are the fans just out of nowhere chanting for Kross? And the answer so far is yes. Even with a sympathetic figure like Sami Zayn, Karrion Kross attacking Sami Zayn, lead pipe, ribs, all that, they're still chanting for Karrion Kross against a guy that is a beloved character like Sami Zayn. So there is something to be said here, something to keep an eye on for Sami Zayn, or for Karrion Kross. I really do hope right now that there is staying power for this to see where it goes. I don't know if it's something that is going to stay, but right now it seems like it's one of the more authentic things going on. So, a couple minutes left here before we wrap it up. We have, looking at some wrestling news. We have Charlotte Flair in wrestling news here. She talks about her fertility journey. Oh God, there's nothing like a journey. Marital strife, hitting, quote, rock bottom. I'm not a fan of the word journey. Everything's a journey. I don't know. I know it's an overused phrase. Oh, my mental health journey, my fertility journey. I think the word journey is overused today. I'm not a fan of it, because life is a journey. I think there was a song about that. I know that it's not definitionally incorrect. By definition, journey is an act of traveling from one place to another. Right? But journey is now just been kind of extrapolated into these emotional times in my life. That I'm always a work in progress. It's just, everything's so... I don't know. Today's culture is just the worst. Anyway, so when we talk about Charlotte Flair here, this is in a Players Tribune article Charlotte described how great everything was prior to her injury, saying she was having the most fun of her career. And when they was preparing for her husband's and then husband's Andrade's return to WWE after his years in AEW, and she said, quote, in February, I started my fertility journey. Oh my God. Everything, like I said, whatever. And she said, quote, that's a complicated topic, and honestly, it's a topic that society doesn't make very easy to talk about, but I'm going to try to be open about it here as much as I can, because it's not something I'm ashamed of. I'm not ashamed to say that I feel pressure of being a female who has, one, a biological clock, one I'm constantly reminded of, and two, a happy ending in my mind involves love, marriage, and a family of my own. I'm not also ashamed to say I went through 4 rounds of fertility last year with no luck, and I'm not ashamed to say that that process gutted me and spiritually exhausted me. So, okay, I mean, obviously she feels pressure to have family and have a family, have children, have a husband. But here's the thing, Charlotte, while that is an absolute, I mean, again, everybody has their own life. Everybody can do it, of course, whatever they'd like to, but that is the most natural desire of being a human being, particularly a female human being, that has ever existed in humanity. Okay, that is a very normal, natural desire. So I don't know who's pressuring her. She's probably pressuring herself, knowing that her biological clock is ticking. She's not a young pup anymore. She's still more than capable of having a baby, but as you get towards 40 years old, we all know the risks of deformities and just miscarriages go up exponentially. You know, that is true. So she's feeling that pressure now. And again, though, it's not society shaming you for that. In fact, it's one of the most discussed topics in society, just generally among people. And there's no shame or pressure in this topic. It's you're putting the pressure on yourself, knowing that, yeah, you're getting older. She's saying that society doesn't make it a topic easy to talk about. What is she talking about? I mean, I don't. What specifically? What? No, the society has never been more open. Has never been. Again, there have never been more topics overshared by people in the entire existence of humanity than right now. From miscarriages to abortions to infertility, that whole sphere of pregnancy has never been more overshared than right now. So I don't know what reality she's living in. But anyway, yeah, I mean, she's feeling the pressure of being a female. Okay, yeah. But again, this is a biological hardwiring. This is not from society. You know, like no one's knocking on your door saying, "Are you married yet?" No one's texting, "Are you married? Did you have a baby yet? Why?" You know, like no one's doing that, Charlotte. You're not unique. You are a part of being a normal female living in the world. Okay. I mean, that's my response to her. But there's a little more if you're interested in hearing it. If you're not already angry with my comments, I'll give you more to be angry about. So she's dealing with the injury. She's trying to, she's dealing with fertility issues, which again, I sympathize with her. I really do. I hope she's successful. I hope she's able to have a child if she desires one. I really do. That's genuine. I'm genuine about that. But she's trying to pretend that this is some kind of unique desire or unique pressure. It's not. You just decided to wait till you're older to have a child at the sacrifice of your career, and now you are dealing with those consequences is what the problem is, Charlotte. Again, those are your own choices. Women today are, deciding to have children later and later, which causes issues with fertility because your just biology says, nope, okay, well, after the age of 35, you are much less likely to get pregnant during the cycles that women have every month, right? During that 24 to 48 hour window when you're the most fertile. As I said, issues with deformities and, all that kind of thing just go up. And that happens when you decide to wait later to have a child and to have a family. That's why there's benefits to having children young. So she goes on to say, quote, I think my rock bottom moment was probably sometime last summer when I was flying around the country for second opinions in various cities, And she said, quote, "At around this time, I developed tendinitis in my knee from going too hard in rehab, which of course set my rehab back more. And then also around the time I went from trying to save my marriage to facing the fact that I was getting a third divorce." And she said, quote, "It's like each thing fed into the other. I couldn't do jumping exercises because of my fertility, but those are exactly the exercises I need to rehab my knee. Or it felt like the stress from my fertility had harmed my marriage, but then it felt like the stress from my divorce was now harming my fertility. It was like for an entire year, I just couldn't win. I was trying so damn hard at all these things, but it's like the harder I tried, the worse everything got." Okay, I mean, I'm not going to criticize her for having struggles in life, but Charlotte, we all do, like we all do. We may not have the exact issues you have. All of us aren't going through a bad marriage, through fertility issues, and rehabbing our knee, but we all have struggles that we're dealing with simultaneously. They may be financial, they may be relational, they may be professional, spiritually. But here's what I've noticed when things like this happen. You know what you do? You don't give up. You just kind of step back and go, well, if working harder at trying to fix any one of these issues is making everything worse, I'm just going to do what I can. I'm not going to try to overwork myself, because then you're burning yourself out and adding a fourth issue. And then you get inside your head, and it's just this vicious cycle that never stops. So, I mean, I can sympathize with this cycle of trying to fix one issue, which exacerbates all the other issues, and then you're focusing on that issue, and then it's just this constant struggle and pull between your mind. And I get it. I understand. So I can sympathize with that. I really can. I mean, most of us don't or can't, relate to a third divorce. That's not exactly something that most of us go through, but I can sympathize with her. I'm not making fun of her, nor am I trying to berate her for having these issues. But I think from an outside party fan, just a zoom out perspective, somebody that has nothing to do with Charlotte personally, professionally, I can take those issues and relate them to my own issues. And I'm sure you can, whoever's listening to this, you can relate to that too. Having multiple issues going on at once, that's called life. And I think a lot of us realize when that happens, you just step back and stop trying to burn yourself out of fixing one issue, because if you fix one issue, then the attention's not on the other issue, but is working too hard in this area, affecting this area. And I think Charlotte has realized that the hard way. And you just kind of step back, take a breath, and go, you know what? Whatever's going to happen, happens. And I don't want to get in too much in religion and all of that, but I think that could certainly help her too if she so decides to go into that road. Because, when you've reached the point where you've done everything you can, and doing anything more or working harder is actually working against you, I think that's a sign of like, okay, hey, I can't do anymore. Let's leave it up to the powers that can. All right? I'm not getting into religion, but I think you know what I'm talking about. All right. So that's that. I'll just say one more quote here, one more thing, and then we'll wrap up the show. So she then said, quote, "I'm sure some people will read this and have jokes about it, and that's fine. I know some people see me, and I know how mean they can be about what they think they know about my life, but I'm not writing this for those people. This isn't for my haters. Honestly, this isn't even for my fans. This is for myself. This is the version of me that spent so much of my personal life needing to be liked, and so much of my romantic life wanting to be loved, and so much of my professional life trying to be hated, that I think I've lost my own compass sometimes in the middle of all that. I think I'm working on trying to find it again. And I think putting this out there, owning what's happened to me, is a pretty good start." So, yeah, I mean, okay, fine. Yeah, she's doing this for herself, and there's nothing wrong with doing things for yourself at times and figuring out who you are. And she's got a life that a lot of us can't relate to, and being in the public eye and being one of the faces of a publicly facing company. Most of us are not that. So she certainly has unique challenges there. And yeah, because your personal life or professional life, with how much the professional life requires you to sacrifice your personal life, but that's the voluntary work you've gone into, though. No one ball and chained you into doing this. This is what you accepted at the onset. So, again, we got to remember that all of these issues that Charlotte is talking about with personal and professional, like you also volunteered to do this. No one is forcing you to be in the public eye. You chose this, and the good and bad that comes with it. And I think a lot of times wrestlers and all really any professional sports athlete, man or woman, or any entertainment, movie star. That's the life you chose. And you chose that, going into it, you're going to face criticism from the public. And that's just part of the game. But I will say, yeah, I mean, her facial surgeries and all that, I'm not a fan of. Okay. Like, I just, I'm not a fan of, just personally, I don't care who you are. I don't think plastic surgery ever looks good ever for any reason, almost, unless if you're a burn victim and it's, you get skin grafts and things like that. But if it's cosmetic, not medically necessary, then I really almost never, when it comes to just like enhancing your lips, enhancing your face, Botox, facelifts, it never ever looks good because you can instantly tell it's not real. And it's, I don't know, not a fan. I'm not a fan. And I've seen men do Botox and it looks terrible. So this is just because mostly women are the ones that do the facial enhancements and spend the money on that. But I've never been a fan. And it's just because you can always tell, no matter how good or how world-renowned the doctor is, you can always tell instantly what you're looking at isn't real. And it never looks good. And when something's not natural, it never looks better. Now I know there's other body parts that but both of us are thinking about here, that there's an argument to be made there when you can, well, okay, the lower part of your body you can get enhanced as a woman. I get that. I'm talking face, okay? The upper part, not the mid section there, all right? Because there's more of an argument there depending on preferences, okay? I'm trying to be PG. All right. So one last thing I'll say, though, too, when everyone, there's this is, I don't know if it's really wrestling related. It's more of just my own personal thought here, my closing thought. There's so much today focused on self-love. You have to love yourself. I'm doing a self-discovery. I'm going on a self-love journey. I'm spending the year learning how to love myself. You hear that so much. And there's nothing wrong with having a love for yourself. You should respect yourself, your body. People should respect boundaries, absolutely. But when it becomes the focal point of your life, of what you're doing day to day on focusing on learning how to love yourself, you, without a doubt, will become narcissistic, introverted, selfish. Because then everything is about, how can this serve me? How can this make me love me? And I understand, again, people use this self-love journey, this self-love mission, and what they mean is learning how to love yourself, learning how to respect yourself. Learning how to respect yourself doesn't mean you go on a lifelong mission to learn how to love yourself and make sure that everyone else learns how to love you, okay? There's a difference. And when you hear people talk about going on this self-love journey, it will undoubtedly lead to narcissism and selfishness, because you're looking towards yourself. How can this serve me? How can it help me? All right? So there's nothing wrong with having respect for yourself, but learning and going through this way to learn how to love yourself is, I mean, there's nothing really good that can come from that, because you will undoubtedly be perceived as narcissistic and selfish and self-obsessed, because that's what the mission of it will ultimately lead to. All right. So, when it's weird how, you help people and you feel good about yourself. So when you turn the focus outside of yourself, you actually will inadvertently help yourself by helping other people. There's something to be said for that. But instead, we turn the focus on me and me and me, and how can it help me? So there's, it's kind of counterproductive to focus on yourself when actually helping other people will help you heal yourself. So there's a little bit of inspiration for the day. All right. All right, I'm out of here. This might be the last show I do remotely. Depends on if I travel Friday or not, but I'll try to get a preview and prediction show out for Evolution / Saturday Night Main Event coming up this weekend. Huge wrestling weekend as we roll through the summer. I mean, my God, a week from now, we are halfway through July. It's just going to rocket through summer, which is sad. But all right, everybody, if you want to go on ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast or Apple Podcasts gives you an ad-free experience. Click the subscribe button. Go ad-free for a week for free. Both of that is available on Patreon and Apple as well. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.